Welcome to episode 16 now of The Bottom Line. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Syed, and we have another very special episode for you all. So as usual, Syed will kick things off with a tech update. Then we're going to actually talk more about cryptocurrencies in this week's episode because as you may or may not have heard, Ripple has absolutely taken off, and LiteCoin and Stellar are expected to follow suit. So we're going to give a brief discussion on those three. Syed is going to also give you a little bit more of a detailed analysis on crypto mining, what sort of steps and resources you need to actually go through that entire process. We're going to, as always, revisit last week's stock picks and provide more for the upcoming trading week. And we're also going to give a special announcement for our upcoming guest speaker series, specializing on OSINT. So we'll give a little bit more information about that. That'll be dropping I think later this week, but definitely a very special episode, and I had a great time recording it, and I'm sure everyone's actually going to enjoy it very much. So with that being said, I'm going to kick things off, and Syed, the floor is yours for the tech update.
Thank you, Deepak. Hey guys, hope everyone is doing great. I hope you guys are enjoying the little TikTok series that we've been posting about Ripple and Stellar, keeping you guys updated on the altcoins, which we are going to discuss later, as Deepak mentioned. But first, the tech and InfoSec update. So this week, there was a bunch of stuff going on, but I found a few of these things interesting. So there's been Facebook ads that have dropped, where these ads are posed as malware. It's malware posing as Clubhouse app for the PC. So if you guys don't know what Clubhouse is, it's basically an app where like they have voice rooms with random people, and it's about topics of like interest, like sports or news or whatever it may be, right? And people go in there, and it's like a voice room basically. You just talk in there. But anyhow, there's this campaign going on, and it's like an ad on Facebook, and it's pitched to be a Clubhouse ad, right? But upon clicking on the ad, the user is taken to a fake Clubhouse app, which then that looks quite authentic, but its download link drops malware. And last year, in two separate incidents, hackers abused Facebook ads to phish 615,000 account credentials. So again, this was one of the other ways that another way that they were phishing using ads. So this time they were leveraging Clubhouse. So just thought I would drop that information for viewers, just to be careful. Note that Facebook has taken down this ad, but just be aware that Facebook ads aren't always the safest either going forward, right? So just be cautious before you click on any Facebook ads, or even like Instagram ads or WhatsApp ads if they appear, right? Yeah, so keep that in mind. Moving on now, so NFTs have been a hot topic lately, right? And we will cover that in another episode, not this week, but going forward we'll definitely cover it. But regarding NFTs though, since they've been so popular, digital artists are actually meeting scam artists as criminals pounce on the NFT craze. So more about this. So there's an article, again, link will be in the description below, so be sure to read more. But I'll tell you a bit about it. So many people have never heard of the non-fungible tokens, right? And yet it's become such a hot trend that scammers have taken notice and are attempting to lure current and prospective traders onto NFT themed phishing and fraud websites. So for the uninitiated, NFTs are unique tokens that accompany original and collectible digital artwork or videos that can be sold or traded as a form of cryptocurrencies, right? With transactions registered on the blockchain. We mentioned this briefly last episode, but many of the earlier NFTs involved illustrations of kittens, but they can take the form of just about anything. So for instance, a collage created by digital artist Mike Winkleman, aka Beepo, recently earned $69.4 million in the auction, while the first ever tweet from CEO Jack Dorsey was digitally pawned for 2.9 million. Meanwhile, it was also announced that NFL quarterback Tom Brady is forming his own NFT company, Autograph. So now that's why scam artists are going for this, right? Because they're taking notice. As I always mention here at the bottom line, these bad guys, whatever you want to call them, hackers, whatever, right? They're always on the lookout for trends, and whatever the common trend is, they'll hop on it and try to scam people. So they're taking notice and jumping on the bandwagon. An online fraud and phishing company, Bolster, recently reported that criminals are starting to stand up to fraudulent imitation NFT websites that impersonate actual digital marketplaces such as OpenSea and Rarible. And I'm going to talk about those two marketplaces later when we do the NFT segment / special later on. But those are two marketplaces, and basically they're getting phished. So like social engineers are phishing those websites, making websites exactly like those, and basically making people click on it. So that's what this article goes into, and be aware of those. If you're just getting into NFT, and if you listen to the bottom line, I don't want you falling for those, because we mentioned phishing almost every week since we started, right? And it's just like you got to be aware, because again, these bad guys are looking for scams and people to phish, right? So I hope that our viewers are aware, and they stay cautious and don't fall for these. And once again, we'll talk about NFTs very soon. I know you guys are waiting for it. It's a hot topic, and we got you. So we'll have that for you soon. And then moving on, there's a malware out there that's snatching user passwords. It's called Saint Bot, and the malware is said to have first appeared on the scene in January 2021, with indications that it's under active development. And just a little bit more about what it is. It's a downloader that appeared quite recently and slowly is gaining momentum. It was seen dropping stealers like the Taurus stealer or further loaders, such as example. Yet its design allows it to utilize for distributing any type of malware, and it's basically really dangerous. And then furthermore, this article also says that Saint Bot employs a wide variety of techniques, which, although not novel, indicate some level of sophistication considering its relatively new appearance. And just a bit about how it works at a very high level. So the infection chain analyzed by the cybersecurity firm begins with the phishing email. Again, phishing, it's everywhere, man. You got to be careful, and I keep emphasizing that. But here's another example why. So it's a phishing email containing an embedded zip file called bitcoin.zip that claims to be a Bitcoin wallet when in fact it's a PowerShell script that runs in disguise, basically. And this PowerShell script then downloads the next stage of malware, which is a Windows update.exe executable, which in turn drops a second executable called install util.exe that takes care of downloading two more executables named def.exe and putty.exe. And again, this article goes into more detail about how it works. So as you can see on your screen, a diagram's coming up, and it shows you how this malware works. So be sure to check out the article. I'll put it in the description below. And yeah. Now moving on to Visa. We do know that Visa announced 2 weeks ago that they're accepting cryptocurrency USDC, right, as payment. But more development with Visa here. So again, hackers are taking notice to this, and they're targeting Visa. So with Visa, hackers are increasingly using web shells to steal credit cards. And web shells are basically tools or like scripts and programs deployed by threat actors to gain or maintain access to hack servers, remotely execute arbitrary code or commands, move laterally within a target's network, or deliver additional malicious payloads. Again, I mentioned what a payload is. Basically, it's basically malicious content, a malicious code in a file, and that's what a malware or a virus is contained of. It's called a payload. For those of you that aren't familiar with that, again, not going to go into too much detail into how it works, but it's just a growing trend of web shells being injected into JavaScript-based scripts known as credit card skimmers into hacked online stores and web skimming, aka digital skimming, e-skimming, or mage card attacks. Again, I'll put the article in the description, but be aware of this. It's a developing story, and many of us use Visa, right? So thought I would let our viewers know. And then to end off, it's kind of a sad update, but you guys remember one of these? This is a PSP. I still have mine. But what Sony is doing is they're going to close PS3, PS Vita, and PSP digital stores this summer. Rest in peace, your childhood. But if you still have one of these, it's bad news because Sony has confirmed that, again, the PS3, Vita, and PSP owners won't be able to purchase new games and media content through these consoles starting later this year. And later this year, as in July of this year, and also August, I believe. So for PS3, it's on PS3 and PSP on July 2nd, and the Vita will lose access to the marketplace on August 27th. So if you guys want to run those old games that you played during your childhood on the PS3, PSP, or Vita, do it now. Now's the best time. We are in lockdown. Might as well go have some fun and relive your childhood memories, But yeah, that wraps up the tech update. Sad news, obviously, with PS, but yeah, I thought I would let our viewers know about that.
So we're going to transition our discussion into 3 different altcoins that we want to talk about. Ripple, XRP, LiteCoin, LTC, and Syed's actually going to briefly touch on Stellar, XLM. So over the past 7 days, you can see there's been tremendous growth. Ripple leading the way at up almost 150%, which is absolutely insane. But
yep.
You know what? Crypto's prone to these kind of swings. You can see it's got a lot of run up, and then it has a sharp pullback, and then it keeps climbing. So I mean, that's just the trend that we've seen in crypto so far. But yeah, again, Ripple's up 145% almost. Litecoin's up almost 30% over last week, and Stellar is up almost 40% over last week. So I wanted to briefly touch on at least Ripple and LiteCoin. So in terms of Ripple, I think my analysis for this would be two-pronged. I don't want to get too in-depth here, but I'm actually going to reference 2 articles here. So the first one's on Yahoo Finance. So I will provide the link to that in the description for this episode. But there's an interesting article. So XRP's price can go a boatload higher, according to veteran analyst Peter Brandt. So obviously he's a billionaire investor himself. He would know what he's talking about, but he didn't really talk too much about the catalyst leading the way for Ripple's sharp increase, but he did talk about it from more of a technical, fundamental pricing, the charting standpoint, really, right? So what he did identify, and I'll read this out for our viewers, is that Peter Brandt identified a pattern in Ripple's weekly price chart that he described as a possible inverted head and shoulders with a stunted right shoulder. Ripple obviously has quadrupled this year in price and has recently climbed above $1 for the first time since 2018 for a $37 billion market capitalization. So according to Peter Brandt, according to Peter Brandt, this pattern would indicate that prices actually have a boatload higher to go. So you know what? When we were in school, we were taught the longer the base of a chart, the more explosive its growth. So obviously, you look at it from a long enough time horizon, you see the last peak was in 2018. We're almost 3 years later, and we're retesting that peak. You see that inverted head and shoulders that he's talking about, and you know what? After that long of a base, purely from a charting standpoint, you would think that it has a lot higher to go. Obviously, it's due to some sort of correction at this point, having run up 145% in the last week. But overall, it's still in a significant uptrend. So, I mean,
Ripple to the moon.
Yeah, Ripple to the moon, exactly. But I don't want to get too in depth with the pricing action in terms of charting. But you know what? Whenever you're looking at short-term trades, charting becomes very important. For me, crypto is more of a long-term investment, so I'm not too concerned about the chart. But I always do keep an eye on it just to see where things are headed. So that's something that I was thinking individually, but Peter Brandt came out and publicly spoke about it, which is reassuring to me because it told me that I had the right idea in mind. But from a more qualitative standpoint, I did want to mention there's another article on Investopedia, and I did my own research on Ripple as well. Ripple is actually being considered to be sort of a bridge between different fiat currencies across the world. And what I mean by that is, and first of all, I'll just walk you through the exact wording in this article. So Ripple's products use XRP to ensure quick liquidity. XRapid, which is another Ripple product, uses XRP as a bridge asset or an asset that businesses and financial institutions can use as a bridge transfer between two different fiat currencies. And as I mentioned, in such a scenario, the financial institution can simply purchase an equivalent amount of XRP and send it through Ripple's network, which is actually a lot faster than it would be outside of that network, right? So basically, you take the Canadian dollar, convert it into Ripple, and send it across the globe. And it'll be so much quicker and way less hassle for currencies to actually switch hands in that way. That's becoming the preferred method of trading, right? So if it does become the sort of bridge to different fiat currencies, its demand will skyrocket over the next few years. And if that does happen, you can see Ripple's price. People give price targets of $3, $4, $5. I think it can go a lot higher than that. But you know what? Conservatively, I think we at least tapped the $2 mark, and I think you were on side with that as well. I think we might give it a run to $2. But again, we'll see. Anything can really happen. We're in a significant uptrend, but you know what? Like, there's always breaks in between. Nothing goes straight up. So
I'm just looking at these charts right now, man. I'm just looking at these charts right now, and for those of you once again that are listening to this podcast as audio, please view the video as we are sharing our screen. And I just wanted to point out, like, to our viewers, do you see these? Do you see this price change right here? It's up 144% the last 7 days. Just today, in the last 24 hours, it's up almost 40%. Like, that's incredible. And I feel like Deepak says, it could go up to $2. So this is why I keep making TikToks about these, just so our viewers know to keep an eye on these. Keep your eyes wide open on this, because again, this is a great opportunity to get some money in, right? It's incredible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely incredible. And the other coin I wanted to mention quickly is LiteCoin. LTC, you can see that's up about 30%. Obviously, it's nothing close to Ripple's performance, but 30% over the last week is still very impressive. And over the last 24 hours, it's up almost 12%. So I think it did warrant a little bit more discussion on LiteCoin. I think we briefly touched upon it in previous episodes, but I think it warrants another refresher. LiteCoin is basically considered to be like the Bitcoin alternative, right? So there are some important differences that should be noted. So I'll list them quickly here. First, LiteCoin actually has a lifetime cap of 84 million coins, which is actually 4 times higher than the total number of Bitcoins that can be mined. And this means that as demand continues to increase, there'll be a larger supply of LiteCoins that actually meet that demand, at least initially. Because right now you're running into the problem like, okay, the price of Bitcoin's gone so much higher. There's not enough supply to meet that demand if everyone wants to purchase a full coin, for example, right? So the natural substitute would be a LiteCoin, right? And it's almost similar to the way like why stocks go through stock splits, right? Like if Amazon actually went through a stock split, right now it's like it was, I think, a high of $3,600 at one point. People aren't able to buy that share, right? So I know in Bitcoin you can buy fractional currencies as well, or fractional coins. But I think that just in terms of supply and demand, there's a finite number of coins, and right now there's more LiteCoins in circulation. So increased demand towards LiteCoin, at least the extra supply can sort of meet that demand. So that's sort of the idea behind this article that I'm referring to here. One other important difference is the quicker block generation. So actually, LiteCoin has a time of 2.5 minutes compared with 10 minutes for Bitcoin, which means in practical terms, transactions involving LiteCoin will be confirmed 4 times faster than that for Bitcoin. So basically, this means that LiteCoin could be a useful medium of exchange for smaller transactions, in particular, as the total fees, like transaction fees that you're accustomed to, will likely be substantially lower than those for Bitcoin. And for investment purposes, this means that users will actually spend less money paying to buy or sell LiteCoin than they would for Bitcoin trading.
Right.
And lastly, the fact that the mining is a lot easier for LiteCoin compared to Bitcoin means that it's easier for more supply to be generated. It takes up less energy, less resources to actually come up with or mine a LiteCoin. And we'll get into mining a little bit later in this episode. But the fact that the mining is easier, coupled with quicker transaction times, coupled with a greater supply and circulation, leads me to believe that, okay, Litecoin can actually be looked at as a reasonable substitute for Bitcoin. And given the current market cap differentials here, I think you can actually see, percentage-wise at least, far superior growth in something like Litecoin than you would at Bitcoin at these levels. So definitely something that you should keep an eye on if you're looking at trading some of these altcoins that you can see on our screen in front of you right now. And Syed, I'll let you handle the discussion on Stellar.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Deepak, for that. And you mentioned Litecoin being faster, right? And not to deviate from the other coins I want to mention, but it's all about the blockchain. And I feel like Litecoin's blockchain is designed to be much faster. And we did go over the foundations of how blockchains work and all that stuff. So if you're lost here and don't know what we're talking about, be sure to check out exclusive episode number 2, where we went into depth from the basics, so you can understand the basics of crypto and build a foundation, right? So be sure to check that out. If anything here doesn't make sense, be sure to check those out. We mentioned these Litecoins in that episode 2. So these altcoins in that episode 2. So be sure to check that out. But moving on now, I wanted to talk about Dogecoin. I'm just kidding. Again, as we know, it is on the chart right here, but it's a meme coin. As Deepak mentioned, I wanted to talk about Stellar. So Stellar is another one that's one of those altcoins that we mentioned, and it has great potential too. And as you can see, just looking at the chart right here, up 17.94% over the last 24 hours, and 7 days up almost 37%. So not as much as XRP, of course, but it's still a significant gain. And don't be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised myself if this goes over $1 too at the rate it's going. But anyways, why does Stellar matter? Why am I bringing it up? Mentioned this during again the exclusive, so be sure to check that out. But I'm gonna mention it again. Stellar is just like Ripple, but it's open source though, meaning that anybody can contribute to it at a very high level. I'm not gonna get into too much depth into how it works and all that, how the blockchain works. Again, if you have any questions about it, let me know and I'll go into depth. But the open source concept and it being similar to Ripple, I feel like it can go up, and as you can see, it is going up right now. And it's an altcoin to keep on your watch list, because again, you don't want to miss out on these potential big time gains, right? So be sure to check that out. Stellar right here. And I know Deepak, you wanted to mention Safemoon because rumors say that you are an investor in Safemoon. So I'll throw it back to you.
No, I am not an investor in Safemoon. I don't ever plan to be an investor in Safemoon. I still don't know why I invested in Dogecoin briefly, but I'm over that. I've closed out that position, so I am definitely not taking those kind of risky trades again. Despite the fact that Dogecoin has actually maintained its value fairly well, I thought
it's on the list.
Actually jumped quite a bit. Yeah,
it's 19th on this list right now.
I don't get it. I don't know why it's up 17%. More of a sympathy play, I guess, because all the other altcoins are going off. But I mean, I'm just glad
Safemoon isn't even on here. Yeah, Safemoon isn't even on here. And the one thing I wanted to mention with those coins, right? So like, you guys are probably seeing it on social media if you search it up, right? Like everyone's talking about Safemoon. Again, it's not even on this list, as you can see. I personally don't see it on here, and I would not go into it. Again, it's one of those hype coins, and honestly, you need to do your research before going into any of these, right? Like we're in the hundreds right now, and we don't see Safemoon on here, so I just wanted to bring that up as a joke, obviously. But don't fall into those, because even like if you open TikTok or like other social medias, people are gonna be like, "Oh, I made this much money," or "This coin is gonna make you rich overnight." Again, they're hiding a bunch of information from you. I don't even know that many exchanges that have Safemoon right now, so like just be careful. But moving on now, I wanted to talk a little bit about mining. So if you have a spare computer lying around with decent memory, CPU, or even if you have a GPU, so a gaming CPU, right? Maybe you could make use of it and start mining crypto, right? Something I'm looking into currently is trying to mine Ripple or Stellar, and I'm not gonna get into too much detail in this episode. If you guys want, I can make an exclusive on how to mine. I did touch up on mining in our crypto exclusive, but if you want a tutorial on how to mine and how to set up your computer to mine, please let me know. But essentially, if your computer's sitting there, its resources are not being used, you can set it up as a miner, and it'll keep mining. And for those of you again that don't that want to know how mining works, we talked about it in our exclusive episode, so check that out. But if your computer just sitting idle, might as well just let it mine, right? You can make passive income off it. Again, it's not going to be a lot depending on your CPU and your RAM and stuff like that, or in your GPU. But again, it's something, right? If you have a scrap computer sitting anywhere, sitting anywhere, set that up and see how that goes, right? Again, you can Google this how to do it, or we can make a tutorial here, which I do plan to do in the future. And if there's a high demand for it, I can get that out for you like even sooner. So please let me know down in the comments below, or feel free to message any of us, and we can get that out for you. But personally, I am looking into looking to see how Stellar is mined, and I'm gonna set it up soon, like within a few days, and see Stellar and Ripple. I'm gonna see how I can set that up. But essentially, you need a wallet where you have your crypto stored, and then your wallets go, and then from your wallet you get your address and you send it to the miner. Now there's a bunch of mining tools. Won't get into that much detail here because that would prolong the weekly. But I just wanted to briefly introduce the concept of mining once again. And for our viewers that are potentially interested, once again, you have a scrap computer lying around or anything, and this is one of the reasons why I never throw away a computer, because they're useful for this kind of stuff, right? Like they always say, right? Like you're trying to like you're trying to throw away something, like it's junk for you, but it's another person's treasure. So someone that found your scrap computer is probably mining crypto from that computer, right? So that's why you should keep your scrap computers, and use them for mining. Just thought I would throw that out there for viewers to look into. But once again, let me know if you guys want that exclusive on mining, on how to, and on how to do it, and I can provide that for you.
To our stock pick segment of this week. Obviously, Imagine AR didn't do that great, as you can probably tell from the chart. Syed, can you go on the 5-day chart?
Absolutely. Yep.
So obviously, this doesn't look very pretty, but we still have to address it because I gave it as a recommendation. So no hiding anything from our audience members. But when I gave that recommendation, the stock opened the week at 55 cents Canadian per share, ended off at about 40. So that is, if my math's not off, about a 25-26% a correction on the stock. But again, despite the fact that it pulled back sharply, I do want to reiterate the fact that if you look at the 1 month chart, Syed, could you click on the 1 month?
Yep.
You can see it experienced significant growth. So mid-March, it was at around 26 cents. And even after the steep drop-off, it's up 56% over the last month. So again, whenever I try to make stock pick recommendations, I want to ensure that, first of all, I'm making recommendations in the stock that has the potential to go a lot higher, both from a technical perspective and also from more of like a catalyst perspective. And obviously, Imagine AR is part of that NFT, that cult that's developing, really, like that, yeah. that FOMO of the retail investor going into these NFT plays. So I think that obviously drives up these stocks a lot, especially at these valuations. Obviously, the market cap is very small for this at 41 million, so it doesn't take a whole lot of capital to move the stock. So those two things in combination are what led me to recommend this. Obviously, there was a lot of profit taking after this sharp run up, but again, I think these are part of health. I think these are healthy corrections and part of like a larger uptrend. So despite the fact that it went down 26%, I still think that has a long way to go, and I think it'll go a lot higher than where it is right now. So that's just my 2 cents. Obviously, this reiterates the fact that these stock picks that are penny stocks are inherently very risky, and you can lose a lot of money on this. So that's why we say do your own due diligence and make sure you're only investing based on your risk appetite. But moving on, again, this was another stock that actually went down over the last 5 days. Oh, actually, on the 1 day, it went up. It closed pretty strong towards the end. You can see a massive increase of volume in there. But despite the strong close, let's look at the 5-day chart. On Monday, April 5th, it opened at around 38 cents. Closed at about 35 cents. So not too much of a drop off, but still about 6.5% either way. So still not a great weekly recommendation. But again, it's part of another larger uptrend in NFTs, and I do think it has a long way to go up. So still holding strong on that, and we'll see what happens to it. But again, do your own due diligence on that one. And the last one, and just to leave you guys on a positive note, that not all 3 of my stock pick recommendations went down this week. Funko actually did fairly well despite its Friday sell-off, but it opened the week at about $20.84 and closed at $22.83, but it actually hit a high of, I think, almost $25 at one point this week. So it was a great week for Funko. It's one of the leading stocks in the NFT space. So again, I think there's a lot more room to go, and these sell-offs, 5, 6, 7%, these happen. These are part of the game, right? Like no stock just goes up straight. So I think these pullbacks are part of the larger uptrend, and I think NFTs have a long way to go. So with that being said, Syed, you can take over and go over some of your stock picks for this week.
Yeah, one question I had though for you, just wanted your thoughts on it. Would you consider, like for your personal portfolio, would you consider buying the dips on any of these stocks, because they do seem down, especially Fandom and Imaginary, right? So, are you considering buying the dip?
Typically, only buy the dip on more safer stocks. So, like on a penny stock, like there's always this saying, like you don't want to go throw good money at bad, right? So while I do think the stock can go up in the long term, I still wouldn't feel comfortable putting more and more of my capital into a penny stock just because it is inherently risky. So I've taken a position that I'm comfortable with, and whatever happens to it, like I'm comfortable. Like when I made that investment, I was comfortable with losing it all because I think there's a larger upside to it. But that being said, I don't want to throw too much money that goes beyond my own individual risk tolerance, right? So if there is a stock between the 3 that I would consider averaging, it would be a Funko because it is one of the leaders, right? And you can even tell with a market cap of over $1 billion, it's a lot more legitimate than those penny stocks. So if I see a steep correction in Funko, then that's something that I'd consider dollar averaging. Obviously, this was a good week for it, so I didn't have to. But of the 3, yeah, definitely I would consider averaging Funko, but not the others. The others I've taken positions I'm comfortable with, and I'm comfortable letting them ride out.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's an example of doing your own due diligence. So great work there. And as we always tell our viewers, know your risk appetite and invest according to that. You don't want to lose your money in these, right? But moving on now, Mara was a safer play. Again, it's a crypto mining stock, and look at the 1 day. It did drop down in the 1 day. It's down 1.65%. But if you look at the 5 day, started out at $48.90, and then it had highs of around $56 on Monday. And this was a great day to sell, perhaps, if you were interested in getting a short-term gain, right? But again, the chart, as you can see, it stayed around the 50, 53, 52, 51 mark, and then it dipped to 49 on Wednesday, and then it went well below 50 there. It went down to like 46-ish, 45 on Wednesday. April 7th at 3 p.m. it went down to 45, and then as you can see, as soon as it went down to 45, it went right back up to 51 on the next day in the morning at 10:30, Thursday, April 8th at 10:30, and then it went down again, and then it's just a little up and down, but like not too much. Stayed around like 49 to 51 ish, and then it went down again on Friday to 47, and then after this downward trend, it started going up again a little, and it closed off at around 49 cents. Again, this is a long-term hold, and as with crypto being hyped up, all these altcoins being hyped up, have a position. Perhaps having a position in the stock isn't that bad, because again, they're a crypto mining company, and they could go up with the hype around crypto. So yeah, and then Hive was a similar pick. Again, it's a crypto mining company, and if you look at the 1 day, it is down 2.53%. This is one of like the cheaper versions of a similar stock like Mara. That's why I mentioned both of them. But if you look at the 5 day, it got really bad on Wednesday, as it was down to $4.81. But again, this one, like, it's a crypto mining stock, right? And it's great to hold in the long term because it can go up. But this is lower, so it is considered a penny stock because it's only $5, and you can see right here it went down to 481. But then it did bounce back. It was up to 504, and then it went down again. But I expected it did go up to 523 right here on Friday, or 520, and I expect it to be around this range. And if the hype around crypto keeps going the way it is, I don't be surprised if the stock reaches around like $7-8. So for me, I'm keeping it as a long-term hold. But again, if you want to get into crypto and don't necessarily want to like actually get cryptocurrency, these two stocks, Mara and Hive, are great stocks to have a position in, to give you the crypto exposure. And then now moving on now to the stock picks of this coming week. Here's a stock that I have in my portfolio. I made a TikTok about it, and it's called Roku. And it's basically it's been doing great for me in my portfolio. As look at the 5 day here, started out at $338 on Monday, and on Friday it closed off at $376. So as you can see, it did go up in the weekly, and I feel like it's gonna continue to go up. I believe Deepak and I were talking before about the stock, and Deepak mentioned it is due for a correction, but let's see what happens. For now, it's doing great for me, and I just want to let our viewers know to keep the stock on your watch list, and you could make some great money here. And then now, Deepak, your stock picks for this coming week. I'll throw it over to you.
Actually, it's interesting you mentioned Roku. When I mentioned that there would be a correction, actually it was around the $500 mark, which was back in February. So
right.
You actually saw about a 25% sell-off in it. So clearly there was a correction coming, and it came. But I don't know what the future holds in store for the stock. Obviously, it's a great company. Long-term prospects are very strong, but short-term price action is kind of iffy to me still. But
I bought the dip.
Again,
I bought the dip.
You bought the dip. Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's a great company to buy the dip for, right? Again, like I mentioned just earlier, it's like you want to average down on companies that are viable in the long term and have already established themselves as a giant in the space. So this is definitely one of them. One other stock I wanted to mention is that can actually be considered a competitor, albeit a smaller one for sure, definitely based on market cap, is FuboTV. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's partnering with a lot of different sports organizations, and it's really trying to build its market share in the streaming space. So again, it's a cheaper alternative to Roku. It's at $23.31 right now. Over the last 6 months, it actually hit a high of over $60 at one point.
62.
Yeah, so it saw a massive
December 22nd, 2020.
Run up. As with massive run ups, there's usually a steep sell off. You saw that there. It was building back up. Cracked $50, and with the market weakness that occurred last month, it just got completely annihilated, back to the low 20s now. But I do think it's gearing up for another run, and I think its business is viable. They're gaining market share. They're getting more television deals. So, I mean, I think the future is bright for this company. So, beyond just being a weekly stock pick, I think this is a long-term hold as well that you can have. if you think Roku went up significantly, I think Fubo has the opportunity to do just as much. So this is a stock that I would definitely encourage you to do your own due diligence on and see if you want to take a long term position in it.
Absolutely, great, awesome. And then your final one, I believe, was Coinbase, and its IPO is coming out next week. And there's this article right here with everything you need to know on the multi-pool. So be sure to check that out. Just putting this here as reference. But Deepak, go for it.
Yeah, no, exactly. You hit all the points that I wanted to make. Coinbase is going to be another crypto play. There's going to be a lot of euphoria on it because a lot of retail investors are going to try to get their hands on the Coinbase stock, and I think there's going to be a lot of run up at least initially. But again, with IPOs, you don't know. Like there's a lot of volatility. There could be a steep sell off coming right after the euphoria fades away. But again, this is another way you can invest in crypto, right? If you're not comfortable buying all these altcoins that we are mentioning, then buying Amara, buying a Hive, buying Riot, or buying Coinbase, which is like the biggest exchange that you can buy and sell crypto on. That's your alternative to gaining exposure to this sector. So definitely keep an eye on that. That IPO is on the 14th of April. So keep your calendars marked for that.
Yeah, ticker COIN, so ticker coin. And yeah, keep an eye on that, as Deepak says. And here's just a little bit more information about it. So it's listed 114 million shares of stock, and we don't know exactly how many will be available for sale, and the company has yet to reveal a proposed stock price. But Coinbase is valued at roughly 68 billion on the private markets, but that rises to more than 100 billion when including Coinbase's fully diluted share count. So again, keep an eye out on once again, ticker COIN, dropping on April 14th on the Nasdaq exchange. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And that wraps up the stock picks for this coming week. And our last segment for weekly episode 16 was to continue our OSINT segments that we started back in episode 12. So this week I wanted to this week's segment is short, more than just wanted to have like make a few announcements and then show you a really useful website for OSINT investigations. But the announcement is that we for those of you that follow us on TikTok and Instagram, you have seen our guest speakers. So Aaron, Alex, and Val, they came on the bottom line, and we had a really good discussion with them, as Deepak mentioned in the opening of this episode. We had a really good discussion with them and about the ethics of OSINT, what tools they like to use, and more insight on OSINT. I gave you just some of the things that you can do in OSINT, but they gave a lot of insight of how they approach things, and it was a really good conversation. So again, we had 3 guest speakers come on the show, and we'll have the episode up for you shortly. But we'll keep on dropping snippets of the episode as well, because it is a pretty lengthy episode. But the entire episode will be out soon, this month sometime, and look forward to that. But with that being said, I did want to show our viewers a website that that could be used, that you could leverage for OSINT investigation. So the website's called OSINT Framework, and you can Google it, and you should be able to find it. And once again, for those of you listening to the podcast as an audio, streaming it, be sure to check out the YouTube video of this to follow along, as I am going to share my screen with you and show you. So as you can see my screen right here, this is the OSINT Framework, and our guest speakers that come on the show, they do talk about this, they do reference it. So I thought I would show our viewers this really unique tool. All the tools that I talked about, most of them in the previous episodes, are on here in this whole hierarchy right here. So this is the OSINT Framework right here. And as you can see, if you want to search on usernames, you just click here, and it shows you all the username search engines and specific sites that you can go to, like Namecheck, Noem, Namechecker, usersearch.org, what's my name, and all these. And specific sites for email addresses, there's websites here that you can leverage, and it has the list of them. All you gotta do is look at what you need, and you can just go here and check that out. I'm not gonna go through all of these, but just wanted to show our viewers for domain names again, whois, subdomains, discovery, and so on and so forth. And it's a great place to find all the websites that you need, or all the tools that you need, and it'll direct you to them. So say for example, if you're looking for search engines, right? If you want to do a general search, all the search engines come up here. Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo Advanced Web Search, Start Page, Yandex, which is one I bring up a lot here. Yandex, Baidu, Google Advanced Search, iBoogie, iZito, Bing versus Google, IX Quick Search Engine, a bunch of these. Like, I haven't even used, I think I've used Hobby. Let's see what Hobby's all about. Let's see. Let's take a look. This is a Swiss search engine right here, and I believe you might have to pay for it. I'm not too sure, but I haven't used it, but this is on the OSINT framework. But as you can see, great site. Digital currency, Bitcoin, all these resources for Bitcoin. A great one that I like is bitref.com. You can enter any Bitcoin address here, and it'll tell you the current balance of any Bitcoin address and the last 50 transactions for every address. Great tool to reference. And again, this is OSINT, and it's available to you in this hierarchy right here. And then the last one that our viewers might be interested in, dark web. Again, not going to go on the dark web, don't worry. But here are some Reddit threads that you can reference. Reddit onions and darknet. So let's see this Reddit. Deep web. So again, it directs you to the subreddit right here, and you can get more information. Again, Reddit's a great tool for learning more about OSINT and stuff. So the subreddit right here, Deep Web, I personally love this subreddit. It shows you a lot, and I do plan on going in depth on the dark web later on in on this podcast, but we'll save that for another time. Just wanted to give our viewers a little sneak peek of this OSINT framework, and once again, look forward to Aaron, Alex, and Dao coming on the show and talking more about OSINT and the ethics behind it. We had a great discussion with them. It was fun recording, and I'll be dropping soon. And with that being said, that does wrap up weekly episode 16. And as you know now, that we have a lot coming up for you guys, content wise. We got the tax exclusive running. We got OSINT going on. We also got great content for you on TikTok, Instagram. We update you guys on like latest trends in technology, InfoSec, the market, crypto. So we got great content planned ahead for the future, and it would help us a lot if you guys could like and subscribe to this video, and that would just help our content reach a wider audience, right? And again, this is we try to provide the best content that we can to educate you guys, and it would help if our content could reach a wider audience, right? And now it would really be helpful to us if you could like and subscribe, so that could be possible. With that being said, though, we'd like to once again thank you for watching, and we will have the tax exclusive dropping as well this week, and look forward to that. Once again, keep sending us all your tax questions, and we'll address them for you. With that being said, have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next week for weekly episode 17.